Congressman Justin Amash and Katherine Mangu-Ward.
We got Bitcoin on our chair. It's exciting. Thank you so much for joining me on stage, Congressman. My first question is actually to ask, like, you were tweeting about Adele this afternoon, and so I just want to check, like, are you okay?
I was just listening to Adele, and I had to say what was on my mind.
I mean, it was a tweet about how she sounds better alone.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to check.
I mean, I don't know what she was intending with the song, so.
Okay.
But
That's fine. He's fine.
I think it's better when she's solo.
He's not lonely. So I guess you're probably sick of talking about the shutdown, but too bad. We're going to talk about the shutdown. So let's start there. I noticed there was a smattering of applause for shutdowns out here. So let's start with that. Should libertarians love shutdowns?
We should love limited government. We should love decreasing the size of government. I'm not sure that the shutdown persuades people to come in our direction, and I think a big part of what we need to do is persuade people. So it's always easy for us to go out and cheer for things like the government's not operating here or there. And frankly, by the way, most of the government is operating, so like it's exaggerated the extent of what's shut down. About 85 to 90% of the government is operating and funded. But I think when you've got the media reporting all these stories about how people are at home and not receiving their paychecks and other things, I don't think that brings people to our side. So this isn't the best way to persuade people by saying rah, 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 like it's so great to have a shutdown. Now, I don't support the appropriations that they're trying to bring back online. I think that a lot of that stuff could be eliminated from government, but we should do it in an orderly fashion. I've suggested to the Trump administration that they should open the government 1 week at a time and allow them to keep negotiating and maybe work on something better than what we'd otherwise get. Right now, I think that both sides are in a stalemate because neither one wants to have the big loss. So if there's long-term funding but there's no wall, then Trump gets a big loss. If there's long-term funding and there's a wall, then the Democrats suffer a big loss. Neither side wants that big loss. So the way to avoid the big loss is just do it 1 week at a time and keep negotiating and bring down the temperature.
Does either side deserve the big loss?
Well, they both deserve to lose. I mean, you know, like people ask me about the spending bill, and at first I voted, as the Democrats voted, I voted no on the spending bill because when the Republicans were in control of the House, it included wall funding. People thought, oh, Justin's with us. The Democrats were like, Justin's with us. He's against the wall. And then when the Democrats took control, then I still voted no. They were confused by this whole thing. I'm against the funding overall. I think there's way too much spending. We're debating a wall that will be between $0 and $5 billion in the appropriations bill or bills, and the overall funding is about $350 billion. So we're talking about spending those that are $350 billion, and they're talking about $0 to $5 billion. We're spending, tens of billions or maybe hundreds of billions too much on these parts of government, but we're talking about this wall.
So you more than once have gone on the record as a kind of pox on both your houses on the two parties, but I gotta ask, you still live in one of those houses.
Yeah, sadly.
Do you see that?
It's a very sad house. That's why I'm listening to Adele,
That's right. It's driven you to power ballads. Do you see that changing anytime soon?
I mean, who knows? I think one of the problems with our system right now is that the two parties control all the levers and they try to keep the other parties out. I'd like to see a more open system that allows third parties to compete. And I really do think There's a lot of room right now for a strong third party. I frankly don't think most Americans like either the Republicans or the Democrats, and would be happy to have some alternative to these parties. You know, it would take it'd be a big move, and you know, who knows?
You heard it here first.
Who knows? That's all I'll give you.
Yeah. Okay. Let's stay here for a quick second. Describe, if you would, an ideal third-party candidate for someone who might actually make some headway in the current electoral cycle.
Well, he wears Air Jordans and well, I think an ideal third-party candidate, like especially a Libertarian Party candidate, I mean that's what I'll talk about. I think the ideal candidate has to be very libertarian, because if you're running the Libertarian Party, you better be a libertarian. But it has to be a person who is persuasive to other people, can bring Republicans and Democrats on board, or bring a large part of the electorate on board. Because you can't just appeal to diehard libertarians and win the election. I think that too often the party has made concessions to have more sort of squishy Republican candidates run as the Libertarian Party candidate, and then you destroy the Libertarian Party base. So you have to have the base aligned with the candidate, but that candidate has to be appealing to people beyond the base. I think that's the way to make the Libertarian Party more relevant, at least.
I'll let you go ahead and do it if you want. You ready to announce?
No, I'm not.
I had to try, guys. I'm journalist. It's my job. So let's back up a little bit. Every Speaker of the House that you have worked under has hated your guts. Is that fair to say?
Well, I don't know that they hated my guts. I mean, I had a very good relationship with John Boehner. But I would say...
he called you a word I'm pretty sure we're not allowed to...
Yeah, he said... I mean, but that's just how John Boehner is.
That's fine. That's his side of the affection.
It's like, yeah, when he calls you like an a-hole and all these other things and 5 other words, it's just how he talks.
Okay.
But, yeah, I think he liked me more than Paul Ryan liked me. But you know, Paul Ryan doesn't use language like that.
And how are things going the last couple of weeks?
So, I mean, it's hard to say. It hasn't been good. I haven't voted yes that many times since Speaker Pelosi came into power. But I didn't vote yes that many times before either. It's, you know, all the speakers are bad. I mean...
Our first here, by the way, he's so positive. He's so full of love. We're just up here like...
I think it's good to be positive. I think it's good to have that positivity. And I heard a lot of what he had to say, and I think that's very good. Especially when you're trying to reach out to other people and grow your base and bring people on board who otherwise disagree. But I think part of the problem with politics is people aren't honest enough about what's going on. And there's a lot of bad going on. And unless you can reckon with that bad stuff, you'll never get to the good stuff. You have to be able to acknowledge that Speaker Ryan was terrible at the job. And that Pelosi will be terrible at the job, and that Boehner was terrible at the job. If you don't acknowledge that, you'll never get to where you need to be. And the problem with these speakers is that they have become essentially the majority leader of the party. And that's not the role of the speaker. The primary role is to be the leader of the institution and to represent all of the American people as this leader of the institution. So you want to have a speaker who will open up the process, who will allow everyone to have their say, who will allow Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Independents, anyone who wants to come forward, offer amendments, and let's have a vote on it. Instead, what we have today is a speakership that is run very much top-down. So the speaker dictates everything to everyone, and then all the legislation is take it or leave it. Here's a bill, take it or leave it. And in fact, under Speaker Ryan, we weren't allowed in the last term to even one time, not even one time, go to the House floor to amend legislation. It's the first time in our country's history, and people don't know that. First time in our country's history that members of Congress could not go to the House floor to offer amendments. on any legislation. Never happened before. It's what we call an open rule, where people can bring their ideas to the floor. So, and we had a record number of what's called closed rules, which is a take it or leave it bill. So the only time anyone got to offer amendments at all was when we would submit them to the Rules Committee, which is run by Speaker Ryan. And then he decides whether your amendment can be allowed on the House floor. But of course, when that's the case, you only get really bad amendments that are allowed on the House floor, ones that they know will not pass, or amendments that don't really do anything. So we never really got to legislate. And the Speaker's job is to ensure that the House can legislate. That's the Speaker's job. And by the way, I brought this up on Twitter the other day. That I think is a point that's often missed, but very important. People complain about how strong the executive branch is. One of the main reasons, if not the main reason the executive branch is so strong today, is because Congress is so weak. And the reason Congress is so weak is because it's top down. If you had a Congress that was not top down, where all 435 members in the House had a say, and all 100 members of the Senate had a say, it would be very difficult for the president to run roughshod over Congress. Because when the president's negotiating with Congress, he then has to deal with a huge group of people, and he can't possibly dictate the outcome to them. So the Speaker would say to the president, you know, give me your idea, I'll take it back to the House floor, we'll have a vote on it. And the president's not going to like that. The president's going to say, well, I just want to negotiate with you. And a good speaker would say, Mr. President, that's not how this works. You don't negotiate with me. I take your ideas to the House, we have a vote on it. If it passes there, it goes to the Senate, and then you get to decide.
So
that's how our system's supposed to work.
On that point, I'm wondering, first, a quick reminder, send me your questions. I'm not rudely checking my email, I'm reading your questions. While I read them, though, I want to ask one more of my own, which is, I want to know how the generational warfare is going on the Hill. Because you and I are exactly the same age. That means I am extremely old for a journalist, and you're extremely young for a congressman.
I don't know about that.
But there are now, like, you know, there's some new babies on the Hill. There's some real fetuses up there. And
yeah, so I'm like an old man.
Yeah. So I guess I'm wondering, you know, as you watch, you know, hearings on social media regulation, and you get this kind of series of tubes vibe from some of the older dudes. You know, when is the changing of the guard, and what does that look like, and how angry are the youngs?
It's hard to know. Like I said, I'm kind of the old man now. Now I'm accused of telling dad jokes all the time and stuff. So I think that a lot of the young people are shaking it up, particularly on the Democratic side. On our side, not as much. There are a lot of people who come in and they talk a good game. You know, you have young people who come in and they'll talk a good game, but when you look at the votes, they're basically the same as the old people. I think the character of the person matters a lot more than their age. I have a lot of colleagues who are older, who are very principled. Walter Jones is one of them. He's a very principled man. We don't see eye to eye on everything, especially there's some economic issues where we'll disagree. Right now, unfortunately, he's not doing well, and he hasn't been to Congress this term, so we're thinking about him and praying for him. But, you know, he's a very principled man. He's a little bit older. Thomas Massey's older than you might expect.
I hope he's not watching.
He's not an old man or anything, but, you know, he's older than you might expect. He's got that baby face. So I don't think it's all about, you know, just bringing in 20-year-olds and, like, that means everything's going to be fixed. I think you have to have the right character, and that matters a lot. And at the end of the day, people with strong character who really believe in themselves and know what they are when they run for office, they're likely to do much better than someone who's just kind of, you know, they might talk a good game, but if they base their self-worth on what their colleagues think about them, then you'll lose them in just a week. Those people will settle out in a week.
So on Twitter, Nathan Goodman asks about the threat the Trump administration's immigration policy poses to civil liberties.
Yeah, well, I think it poses a big threat because, of course, first of all, for Americans who are of Hispanic background, for example, there are situations where their civil rights are being violated because they're being asked or may be asked to produce documents and other things based on just how they look. Someone might say, well, we don't trust that you're actually from this country and we're gonna check you out. I think that people have really lost sight of what this country is about. This country is a place where everyone can come, where we obviously have laws, and laws have to be followed. And we have a system for people to come here legally. But whether you're a citizen or not, the Constitution protects you when you're here, when you're in the United States. I often get asked whether the Constitution applies to non-citizens. And of course, the Constitution applies to the United States. You know, this distinction of citizen or non-citizen is not really in there the way that a lot of people think. So, of course, citizens can vote under our laws, and there are other privileges that the Constitution grants to citizens. But when we're talking about due process, when we're talking about equal protection, when we're talking about how the law treats people day to day, everyone is treated the same way under our system. And that's what makes America great. That is one of the greatest parts of America. We're a country with people from all backgrounds who come here, and some of them might not be citizens yet, maybe they're trying to become citizens, but we're a country with people from all backgrounds. We live together, and we have a system based on liberty, and the idea that people can live out their lives and make decisions for themselves. And our Constitution protects that.
A question from Hesham Al-Maliki, who asks, do you see common ground or potential joint efforts with AOC, Ilhan Omar, and Rashida Tlaib, other newly electeds? Is there got anything in the works with the Dems?
I can't speak to each one individually, but I would say that I do speak to a lot of progressive Democrats and some of the new ones as well. And yeah, we are talking about working together on a number of things. So especially civil liberties issues, foreign policy issues. We're going to try to have more regular meetings with them. Some of the House Liberty Caucus members, we're going to try to bring some of the progressives in to have these conversations. We're concerned about the renewal of Section 215, which is, of course, from the Patriot Act and the USA Freedom Act, which ended up being bad the way they designed it. So that's coming up this year, so we're going to have to work on that. We've been talking to them about the war in Yemen. We're talking to them about just wars generally, whether we should have troops in Syria, why aren't we out of Afghanistan after all these years? I don't know, there are lots of areas of agreement. And on war issues, you will hear some of my colleagues, especially the more neoconservative ones, who will talk about how we have to stay in these foreign countries forever, which is insane. It's like when you try to bring your troops home from these wars, they like raise hell, like, oh no, we can't do that. But when we go to these wars, there's barely a peep. Everyone's just cool with it. So, at least in Congress, they're cool with it. So, this means that wars, under this system where the president can put you into any war, but you can't pull out of the war, it means that the number of wars are just going to keep increasing, right? I mean, it's leveraged in that direction. Yeah, we shouldn't be in a lot of these wars. It's time to bring them home. And in Afghanistan, we have people who are signing up now to fight who were born after 9/11. It's the longest war in our country's history. I think we need to really rethink what we're doing. And when you have a war, you should bring it to the American people. When you want to go to war, you bring it to the American people. You have a vote from their representatives in Congress, and you better have a game plan. You better know why you're there. And when you don't have an existing objective to be there, you should get out.
And one final question. question,
Let's
which
just
is,
wrap up now.
they said we have to get out. So my last question to you is, I generally hate politicians a lot.
Yeah, me too.
I don't seem to totally hate you yet.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if you could just end the suspense and tell me, like, what are you going to do to break my spirit? I need to get rid of it.
Nothing. No, I'm not going to break your spirit.
Okay.
I think I wouldn't do that. Look, I care about doing the right thing, and to me, that means sticking to my principles. I ran as a Hayekian libertarian. I mean, that's how I would describe myself. I'm a big believer in F.A. Hayek and his writings. I think he strikes just the right balance for what I think, and I know you're like an anarchist, but so maybe I broke your spirit right there. But whatever the case, look, I'm going to stick to who I am, and I think I've proven that it works. In my district, I've been successful many times, and it's no secret to anyone in my district what I believe. I call myself a libertarian every single time, and everyone knows that in my district, so I'm not running like as a secret libertarian or anything. And I think it works. I think people want that. They want independence. They don't want you to stick to what the two parties are doing. They want you to be principled. And guess what? I think a lot more politicians would realize this if they tried it. People will be very open to your principles if you stick to them and you explain what you do. I think they're so scared all the time of doing the right thing and sticking to their guns. They're afraid their constituents will boot them out of office, but it's just not true. Your constituents want someone who's honest and principled. I think that's what they really care about more than anything.
Thank you very much.